I came back for the love of this, to come and shut this man up, a little rat, a little weasel, and that's it. I came back for the love of fighting and the love of war, and this I am going to truly, truly love, putting a bad beating on this little glass jaw rat.
What Conor accused Khabib of this time wasn't trash talk, wasn't hype, and wasn't another jab about the past. It was something far heavier. Something tied to Khabib's late father Dagestani culture and millions of dollars that mysteriously disappeared from social media overnight. And while that fire was burning, Arman Tsarukyan was out here torching Paddy Pimblett, saying the UFC star has nothing for Ilya, calling him overrated, and listing every fighter he believes Paddy has no chance against. Before we jump in, hit subscribe to MMA Desk so you never miss the stories the other channels are scared to cover. At first, the whole papaca thing looked simple. Khabib was online promoting what he called digital papacas, little digital versions of the famous fur hat you always saw him wear after his fights. He talked about tradition, respect, Dagestan, his father, all of that. Fans know that hat is more than just fashion. It's a symbol in his culture, something that shows where you come from and what you stand for. So when he attached that symbol to a new online project, people paid attention right away. These weren't cheap little stickers either. They were sold like special digital collectibles, and people were told they were limited and would have value over time. For a while, everything looked normal.
In the picture, why are you wearing a fluffy hat?
This is traditional headgear where I'm from, like mountains. All people who living there, they wear this because wintertime in mountain it's very cold.
Posts went up, hype built, fans started buying, and headlines began to pop up about how much money this drop made. But then out of nowhere, almost every post about the project vanished from Khabib's social media. Instagram posts gone, X posts gone, anything public suddenly missing. The only place everything stayed up was on Telegram. That's when people started to ask the scary question. If this was all so honest and clean, why delete everything? Some fans felt proud to support his culture. Others started to feel like maybe they had just paid a high price for something that might not be around for long. And that confusion opened the door for one man to jump in and go nuclear, Conor McGregor. When Conor saw what was going on, he didn't hold back for even 1 second. He went straight to social media and blasted Khabib in front of the whole world. He said there was no way good guy Khabib would use his late father's name and the culture of Dagestan just to push a bunch of digital pictures and then delete all the proof once the money was in.
To this day, one of my favorite moments at a weigh-in is Khabib before the Conor fight, where he says to the audience, I'm gonna smash your face.
And he did.
And he did. But it was just, that was like Khabib trash talking, which you never heard.
Conor made it sound like Khabib had taken everything people once loved about him, the humble champion, the family man, the respectful son, and turned it into a sales pitch. He even twisted Khabib's famous line, "Father's plan," into something dark, calling it "Father's scam." That one line hit hard. For fans who loved Khabib's father and their story together, it felt almost painful to read. Conor wasn't just saying the project was bad. He was saying Khabib had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. That he had used the memory of his own father to grab cash from loyal supporters. And Conor didn't talk like it was a small amount either. He made it sound huge, saying people paid big money and got left hanging when the post disappeared.
Nurmagomedov lost. That's Poirier lost.
Where's he gone, but where's he now?
He's retired.
Yeah, well, why? He went sprinting. He's gone. Shit, his jocks became fat and Freud and all. He done nothing in the sport. All he done in the sport.
In Conor's eyes, this wasn't a mistake or a bad choice. He painted it like a straight-up digital robbery. And once those words were out there, the internet exploded. Soon numbers started flying around, and one claim stood out above the rest. It said Khabib made around 350 million rubles in a single day, which is about $4.4 million, just from selling those digital papacas. That number spread like wildfire. People shared screenshots, reposts, and translations. Some said there's no way it's that high, while others replied, of course it is. Do you know how big his fan base is? But the real problem wasn't just the amount. It was the feeling that this huge profit came from something that disappeared too fast. Fans began to ask, if this is such a pure cultural project, why is it now hidden from everyone except people on one app? Conor saw those numbers and jumped on them. He reposted the claim about Khabib making all that money and called him a full-time scam artist. In simple words, he said Khabib had robbed his own fans and hidden behind his good guy image while doing it.
Khabib, do you have any response?
This is everything what I expect.
In terms of what did you expect?
I'm come here for smash this guy. I don't wanna
Smash me,
talk.
mate. Smash
I
me.
don't wanna.
Smash me. I'm right in front of you. Did you not see me outside the bus now? You talked a big game, now I'm here.
For people who already didn't like Khabib, this was fuel. For people who loved him, it felt like a full-on attack on his character and his culture. Debate broke out in every comment section. Was this a real scam or just a misunderstood digital project? Was Conor exposing the truth or just being salty about their old fight? As the noise grew louder, everyone waited for one thing: Khabib's answer. When Khabib finally answered, he didn't duck the topic. He came right at Conor's words. He called him an absolute liar and said Conor was still trying to darken his name years after being beaten in the cage. In Khabib's view, this wasn't about any real scam. It was about Conor never getting over that loss and grabbing any chance to attack him. Khabib said the digital papacas were not fake products.
That's why they wanna protect their brain, you know, because like cold for brain is not good.
He said they were real digital gifts with value that people could share with friends and family. To him, they were a way to carry Dagestani culture into the digital world. He talked about the papaca as a symbol of tradition, respect, and discipline. He reminded people that his father wore it, that young men in his village grew up seeing it as part of their identity. Then he showed a video explaining the meaning of the hat, how it represents strength from tradition, not just physical power. It was calm, almost like a mini documentary. In the video, he made it sound simple. This is my story, this is my culture, and now it exists as a digital gift on Telegram. To his supporters, it looked like he was defending not just a project, but his father's name. But even in that calm voice, you could feel something boiling underneath. You could tell this was getting personal, and that calm tone was not going to last forever. Khabib's next move showed just how personal things had become. He posted a picture and wrote that his count was 56 former drug addicts treated at his rehabilitation centers in Dagestan. It was a clear, sharp message aimed straight at Conor. Without saying it directly, he was calling out Conor's past problems with substances and wild behavior.
Yeah. You never heard, but Conor brought it out of him.
Don't let that smelly rat put that high on your head, Joe. The smell of that thing.
That's all he needed.
Yeah.
That little bit.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I'm gonna smash your boy. And all the Irish people like, no.
Then he invited Conor to come to Dagestan, saying they would take care of him there, and added that Mexico clearly didn't help him. That line hit like a punch to the body. It wasn't about money anymore. It wasn't even about NFTs or digital gifts. This was about attacking each other's lives, choices, and personal demons. Some fans thought Khabib went too far. Others said he was just answering fire with fire after Conor mocked his father. The whole thing turned into a new round of their Cold War, but this time, there was no cage, no belt, and no referee. It was just two men using their platforms to hurt each other as much as possible. And while all that drama was shaking up the internet, another fighter was busy starting his own storm, not with digital items or old grudges, but with a few very harsh sentences in an interview. Arman Tsarukyan sat down for an interview and did not sugarcoat a single thing when the topic turned to Paddy Pimblett. When he was asked if Paddy had anything for Ilia Topuria, Arman didn't even pause. He said there was no way Paddy could beat him. Then he went even further. He started listing fighters that Paddy, in his opinion, could not beat in the lightweight division. He said Paddy couldn't beat Charles Oliveira, he couldn't beat Dan Hooker, he couldn't beat Max Holloway, he couldn't beat Arman himself. At one point he said flat out that Paddy sucks. It sounded harsh, but for Arman, it was just being honest about levels. He talked about how there are different layers in the UFC. Some fighters are fun, some are entertaining, but not everyone is truly elite. In Arman's mind, Paddy was not close to the top level guys yet. He even said if Paddy managed to beat a strong name like Justin Gaethje, then he would admit Paddy was good. Until then, he saw him as more hype than skill. Fans reacted fast. Some agreed, saying Paddy's competition so far had not been top tier. Others thought Arman was underestimating him and just trying to steal his shine. Either way, his comments made noise. It added a new rivalry on top of all the other fires burning that week, and Arman was not the only one making headlines. In another corner of the fight world, Mike Perry was facing a different kind of opponent, the tax man. Mike Perry went public with something most fighters try to hide, how much money he had to pay in taxes.
I don't really want to fight right now. My rib hurts. I don't really want to fight, so thanks for the time off. But I'll tell you what, when people want to watch BKFC again, they'll be calling. They already called.
He shared a photo of a letter and said his tax bill was the biggest robbery in sports. He acted shocked at how much he owed, talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that had to be paid. Perry said he had saved a little over $1 million, and then claimed that 37% of that came out to about $629,000, which he felt made no sense. He blamed his tax team in Miami, saying someone had dropped the ball on his assets. You could feel his frustration bleed through every sentence. He talked about all the years of hard training, all the punches he took, all the blood he shed, and then said it felt like the country just swooped in and took credit for it all. At one point, he even joked that he was ready to sell everything, pull all his money out of the bank, and go off the grid, maybe even do a little time in prison rather than keep playing the game. Some fans told him in the comments that the letter he posted looked like a warning about unpaid taxes, not a normal bill, and said he might have misunderstood parts of it. Perry fired back that he was up to date and this was for 2024. The whole situation showed something real about fighters. Fans see knockouts and walkouts, but behind the scenes there are bills, numbers, and stress that can hit as hard as any punch. And if you think that kind of stress only comes from money, Chris Weidman's story proves that your own body can turn into the biggest problem of all. Chris Weidman thought boxing would be easier on his body than MMA. No elbows, no kicks, no takedowns, just hands. So when he signed to box Anderson Silva again on a big card, fans were excited, and Chris was too. He started training, getting his timing back, sharpening his punches. For a while, everything felt on track. Then during a sparring session, in the very first minute, everything went wrong. Chris threw a hard left hook, and he felt his bicep pop. At first, it might have looked like nothing from the outside, but he instantly knew it was bad. Doctors later told him his bicep tendon was about 95% torn. That tiny bit still attached made it incredibly painful. He tried to rest it, tried to train through it, but every time he picked up the pace, the pain came roaring back. At one point, he said he could not even hold his arm up to defend himself. He believes that if it had torn all the way, the pain might have dropped after the swelling went down, and he could have pushed the surgery until after the fight. But with it hanging on just enough to hurt and not enough to work, he had no choice. He pulled out of the bout with Silva, and Tyron Woodley stepped in as the new opponent. Chris went online to explain everything so fans wouldn't be confused. You could hear both disappointment and hope in his voice. He talked about how much he enjoyed boxing training, how he had fallen in love with it, and how he still wanted that Anderson fight in the future. For now, though, he was going to focus on healing, enjoy Thanksgiving with his family, and keep doing TV work with the UFC. Injuries may slow you down, but as Tony Ferguson showed, they don't always quiet your confidence. Tony Ferguson sat down for an interview and made it clear he still believes in what his prime version could do. When the topic turned to Islam Makhachev, Tony said that back in the day, Islam was always in Khabib's shadow. He compared it to Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili, where one guy shines while the other waits in the background. Tony said he always thought Islam was a very well-conditioned athlete, but still believed that prime Tony would kick his and you can fill in the rest. In his mind, the story wasn't just that Islam suddenly became great after Khabib retired. It was that he always had the skills, but respect for Khabib and his father kept him from stepping out in front. Tony also talked about his own academy and training style. He said 1 or 2 years at his camp could make you better than the wrestlers from Dagestan. It sounded wild to some people, but that's Tony. He has never been short on belief. Then he said there are only 2 fights that really interest him, Conor McGregor or Khabib Nurmagomedov. He argued that no matter where those fights happened, they would sell tickets like crazy, good or bad. He even joked about being in the White House with Khabib and promised fireworks if that ever went down. For fans, these comments were a mix of nostalgia and what if. Tony in his prime was a storm. Time, age, and damage have changed things, but his mind still lives in that world where he was the boogeyman of the division. While he dreams of giant fights, another veteran is chasing something more simple, one more fun war, even if it means fighting down in the rankings. Dan Hooker recently took a big swing when he fought Arman Tsarukyan, and it did not go his way. After the fight, he ended up in the hospital for scans. People thought his nose got broken in the fight, but he joked that it was actually broken at the weigh-ins, not during the bout. He didn't make excuses. He said he went after the #1 guy in the world. It didn't work out, and that's just how this game goes. But he also made it clear he was not going to sit around and hold up the division. Hooker said he was ready to fight down in the rankings, and he had one name in mind, Renato Moicano. He said he got a call from Hunter Campbell while he was still at the hospital. Hunter asked if he was okay, and Hooker, instead of complaining, simply replied that Moicano sucks and asked for that fight. He even called it an old man fight, joking that they both got cooked, one by Islam Makhachev and one by Arman. He said they should have a cook-off and settle it. Soon after, Moicano replied on X with 2 simple words, easy money. That was all he needed to say. Just like that, a new matchup had heat. It wasn't about titles or top contender status. It was about pride, fun, and the kind of back and forth that makes fans mark a date on the calendar. And in a week filled with digital scandals, harsh callouts, torn tendons, and bold claims, it was the perfect final spark to keep the MMA world talking. In the middle of all this chaos, one thing became clear: the MMA world is changing faster than anyone can keep up with. Conor and Khabib may never fight again, but every time their names collide online, the entire sport shakes like it did back in the height of their rivalry. What started as a strange digital project turned into a full-on war of words about legacy, family, culture, and personal demons. And even though fans argue about who's right, one truth remains: these two can't stay out of each other's orbit. No matter how far they are from the cage, they keep finding new ways to clash. At the same time, newer fighters like Arman Tsarukyan and Paddy Pimblett are building their own rivalries, proving that the next generation isn't waiting politely for its turn. They're stepping up, talking big, and trying to carve out a place in a sport that never stops moving. Between huge personalities, tough losses, surprise injuries, and sharp callouts, MMA feels more unpredictable than ever. If this week showed anything, it's that drama doesn't need a fight announcement to explode, it just needs one spark. And there are plenty more sparks coming. For more wild stories, real updates, and everything the big channels won't tell you, make sure you subscribe to MMA Desk.